everyone. Welcome back to the Girl of Gen Z podcast. I'm your host, Clarissa, and today I have a special guest by the name of Nour Chibli on the show. Welcome to the show.
Hi, everybody. Hi there, Clarissa. Thank you for having me today.
Of course. Do you want to tell everyone what your title is and what you do as of right now? And then we'll jump backwards a little bit and how you got into that.
Yes. So I am a senior hairstylist as well as makeup artist. I have a business, import credit, a hair salon, and makeup as well. And we've been open for about 2 years now.
That's amazing. So let's dive a little deeper. We're going to go deeper into this. Let's start at your childhood. So how was your upbringing?
My parents were very strict, I would say.
What's your background, nationality?
I'm Lebanese. Yes.
Okay. Fully, like both sides family?
Yes,
okay.
Both sides, yeah. My parents were very strict when we were younger, very family-oriented, cultural as well. I have 2 older brothers, too.
How was that?
It was interesting. It was interesting having 2 older brothers for sure. Everywhere I went, I was their younger sister. So everybody in the neighborhood knew me before I even went to school. So I tried to kind of, make my own name.
Yeah. What was the age gap between you and them?
4 years between my middle brother and 7 years between my eldest brother.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So strict family household. You had 2 older brothers. You're always known as the younger sister. How was going to the same school as them? I guess, were you at the same school at the same time? At least with one of them.
Well, my middle brother when I went into school, he just graduated. So he was a year ahead of me, basically.
Okay.
When he was graduating. So when I went to high school, one of them went to Gordon Graydon, one of them went to Cawthron Park, and I didn't want to go to either one. I didn't want to be known as their little sisters, so
that was the sole reason.
Yes.
That you chose differently.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I begged my parents, and finally they agreed, and I went to St. Paul's instead.
And how was that?
It was good. I'm not Catholic, so going to a Catholic high school was different, but I liked it. I enjoyed it. It wasn't just based on, religion. They had really good education. And it was good to learn. I like to be educated and learn a little bit about everything. So it was interesting, that's for sure. But okay. I made good friends as well.
Awesome. So what were some of your, I guess, courses that you took most interest in school?
So 2 opposite things, very opposite. I was interested in hair and makeup from the beginning, but I also wanted to be a lawyer. So I took law in high school until grade 11 when I took law, and realized there was a lot of schooling. And I'm more of a visual person, hands-on. At that moment, my mom is also an esthetician. She had the opportunity to buy a salon that she was working at. So it kind of gave me a little bit of a push to go in that direction. So then, I ended up sticking to cosmetology and pretty much graduated from that.
Okay, so you graduated high school. You didn't take a victory lap or an extra year or anything like that?
I did. My last high school, my grade 12 was a little bit difficult.
In what sense? The classes were hard, or?
Well, actually, my last month, I would probably say before graduation, I had missed a lot of school that year. We just had a rough year, and the principal felt that I didn't have enough hours and I wasn't in class enough to graduate.
Okay.
So I decided instead of going back, I would actually take my GED. So I took a year off. I worked in banking, which is very random.
Did you like it?
I liked it. I did. I liked it. I enjoyed it, but again, it wasn't like my passion, right?
Yeah, it was just kind of a filler job for the meantime till you figured out the rest of your stuff.
I'm a very organized person, so I was pretty good with with working in that industry, but it wasn't my passion. And so I took my GED, and then I went to private hairstyling school. I graduated from that a year later.
Wow. So it was only a year program?
Yeah, it's a year program.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how is it intense?
You know what? A lot of people think that hairstyling is very easy. A lot of people think that it's just hands-on and like a hobby, but there's a lot of science behind it. And you just have to, you have to be focused when you're in school, and it's hard when you're in college. You're young and you want to kind of have fun, and there's a lot of information coming at you. You have to know how to deal with people. You have to know how to learn color theory. You have to learn how to, learn everything behind it, why you're doing what you're doing. You have to learn the hazards and as well. So there's a lot of different things that, you have to learn in that process.
Right.
But yeah, overall, I think the school I went to was great. And
where was it? Was it Mississauga?
Marca College. It was Mississauga. Yeah. It's Burnham Thorpe and Dixie. Yeah.
Okay. And how many people were in your graduating class? Because it was only a year, so I feel like the dropout rate wouldn't be that high.
Yeah, well, the way that they do it is they have new students starting every month. So yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it's a little bit weird.
Won't they be behind?
Well, they have like multiple teachers. So the way the program works is I start at basics. So basics is like hair, like basic hair knowledge, shampooing and, starting from scratch. And then after I've done my month program, somebody else comes in and now they take that class. Now I move on to hair cutting or coloring.
Oh, so you almost like bump one another to the next kind of round.
So they have people graduating pretty much every month.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Holy.
So where you're meeting new people all the time. And then like some people graduate with you, some don't have enough hours. It's an hour-based schooling. So like you need X amount of hours to graduate by your end contract date. And if you don't have those hours, then you have to continue to pay to go back per day. So,
oh my God.
Yeah. So you don't have a lot of time to like, not go to school. You really need to go to
you
school.
You really have to be focused. And I feel like a lot of people wouldn't have been working part-time on the side alongside this. Like this was kind of.
Yeah. I needed to work part-time, but I was in school 9 to 5. So like to work retail after that,
it's pretty
to make
hard.
Not a lot of money either was difficult. So I ended up getting a bartending job, which obviously my parents hated since they're so strict.
How did that conversation go?
My mom was usually the one that, kind of like was like, I'll talk to your dad. So, she found out, she was like, okay, you need a job. My dad always kind of raised me where it was, if you want to have a car and you want to have these things, you need to pay for it. So I had a car, I had insurance, I had a phone, I needed to pay for it.
So you had all those things coming right out of, well, I guess, okay, when you went to school.
Yeah, when I was in school. Like, I was lucky enough and fortunate that they paid for my college, but I had to, if I wanted these things, I needed to pay for them. So
is that exactly how you explained it? Like,
yeah, pretty much.
I need cash. Yeah. This job works for.
Yeah.
For
my dad's like, well, why can't you work in a nice restaurant, a nice Italian restaurant or something like that? And I was like, well, it's not making the same kind of money. You know, the place I worked at, I didn't have to do like tip outs and stuff. It was like a family run Portuguese bar.
Oh, that's
They
sweet.
were like busy with sports games.
Are they still open?
Yeah, they're still open. So they ended up selling to a guy who's Italian actually. So now he kind of switched over a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, it's still open. It's in Mississauga too.
How many years did you work there? Just that 1 year? While
No,
you were
I ended
school?
up working there 6 years.
Holy. Yeah. Okay, well, clearly it was good enough to hold on for 6 years because otherwise you would have been gone after you were done with school.
Once you start making those tips, like it's very hard to, and I understand why people, when they work bartending or serving, why when they weigh out their option of starting their career, they're like, I'm making more money doing this.
Yeah.
And I understand why, sometimes they have a difficult time processing and moving on to the next part of their
people
career.
say it starts to become an addiction. Like,
yeah.
I remember when I was at school and my roommate said she worked at a golf course as a server, and then I was talking about hating my job in the greenhouse that my brother convinced me into, saying it was good money, the boss was never around, like I'd be able to like take breaks when I want, but you were just unloading plants from the trucks all day.
Yeah.
I was like, this is not for me. And my roommate was like, listen, like once I went serving, I never turned back. Like I kept going for those kind of jobs because, as a female, I can't really speak to a male because I haven't really put that to the test. You make some good money. So as soon as I made that transition, she was right. And I never looked back either.
Yeah.
I just stayed with the serving and bartending. And it is a little bit more of a flexible job. And depending how many days a week you do work and you are able to, I think you are able to kind of jumpstart a career with working a more flexible job like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it definitely gave me a head start with, financially, because I was able to save a lot more money faster.
Yeah.
If I had worked retail, I wouldn't have made nearly as much money. And even when I graduated college and I started hairstyling, even though I was working for my mom's business at the time, I still was used to a certain amount of money. So working minimum wage at that point wasn't really enough for me.
Cutting it for you, yeah.
So I continued the bartending and it overlapped hairstyling for like 5 years pretty much. Until I built up a clientele and I was like, okay, now I can kind of either, go in commission or make my own money. And when it kind of started, hairstyling started making me more money than the bartending, I probably actually would have stayed doing it, but my Saturdays were a little bit difficult because I was working late Friday nights, working Saturdays at salon, working Saturday night at the bar again. So that's kind of where I stopped.
Yeah, you start to you miss your social life, your sleep.
Yes.
Your diet kind of goes out the window.
Social life.
Like everything things start to give, unfortunately. Yeah. But like when you see those dollar signs on paper,
that's really
I
all
feel
that
you. I
matters.
totally understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
So let's fast forward then to your mom taking over a salon.
Yes.
It wasn't one she had opened.
No, she actually took over. That business was around for 25 years when she took over.
Was that in Mississauga?
It was in Lauren Park.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Lauren Park Road in Lakeshore.
So she was an esthetician there.
Yes.
And then what had happened with the ownership? They were just like, we're looking to sell, or what was the...
Well, the owners were...
You can go into as much detail or as little detail as you want.
Yeah, the owners were, I guess, at a point where they had been hairstyling for 30 plus years. And it was 2 women. And I think they got to a point where they didn't want as much responsibility. And instead of selling to a stranger, they gave the staff the option first.
Okay.
And obviously my mom, knowing that I wanted to get into that industry, she was like, well, let me see. So when she asked me, it was kind of like, well, if you're going to do this, I'm going to buy it. But if you're not, I'm not. So
I see where she's coming from, though.
Yeah,
like, she's
I
only going
understand.
all in if you're
Yes.
going to kind of keep up your end.
Yes.
Okay.
So at that point, she decided to buy it over. And we stayed there for a good amount of years. And then we decided to...
So how old were you at that point?
I was 21. No, 20. I was 20 at that
20.
age.
And you stayed there for how many years?
We were at that location. We stayed for about 2 years after she bought it over.
Okay.
And then we moved the salon to Port Credit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did it have the same name then?
Yes. So when you first started coming to me, Bells and Bows,
Yes.
we just moved from Lauren Park to Port Credit, and we bought the property in Port Credit. We built the salon, like, from the ground up there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, same name. We kept everything. And then that's pretty much when you started coming to me when we were there.
I was going to say, I think I've been going now for 8-ish. This is crazy to
Yeah,
say,
I
9-ish
know.
years. I have not switched hairdressers. People are like, when you find your one, you don't move.
Yes.
Like, you follow them around until, like, okay, if they like leave the country, it's different. But like, yeah, you don't leave. So I remember a girl at school, which we don't really, unfortunately, talk that much anymore. But at the time, her and her sister had went there, and I was in grade 8. And she was like, oh, like this new place opened in Port Credit. Like, you've got to go. They're so nice. And like, it's so pretty inside. And I was like, Mom, like, I'm sick of getting my hair cut at First Choice. They always cut it crooked. Sorry, First Choice. But it's like, you get what you pay for there.
Yes.
So then we made the transition over, and then never looked back.
Yeah. And I still remember when your
followed
mom
you
was
around.
bringing you, and she would pre-call me. She would call ahead and say, like, the girls are going to say only like a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch. You're going to take
cut
2 inches off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Every single time you guys
tell
would
her
come.
every time. And she only told me this recently,
Yeah.
like within the last year. Nour was like, oh, by the way, your mom used to call me and like make sure I cut more off, because
Yeah.
like we would argue in the salon,
Yeah.
like me, my sister, and my
You
mom.
wanted to keep your long hair. You guys both had beautiful, long, dark hair, and you wanted to keep it long.
Yeah.
But she's like, they're ironing it, they're straightening it. They
It's
need
so
to listen
dead.
to me. Yeah. And I was
I'm
like,
paying for it. She was the parent, but like,
yeah. Well, I found a happy medium. I'm like, hey, I agreed to both, and then I'm like, I'll take an inch off. It'll
Yeah.
nobody's gonna notice a 1/2 inch, and I can please both of you.
yeah, that's true.
Because if I took too much off, you would never have come back.
Yeah.
Even if she's paying, you wouldn't have come back. You'd be like, I don't like her.
You're
She
smart.
took too much off. Yeah.
You're smart. Did they teach you that in school?
No.
That was just your own little like
Yeah.
thing you came up with. That's
Yeah.
crazy. Okay, so you moved to the Port Credit location, and how did the process of building from the ground up go? Because now you're a little older. You're 22, 23?
I was, I think at that point, by the time we ended up opening it, I was 21, 22. Yeah. Yeah, I was around that age. During that time, we had a little bit of like some family difficulties. So it was a little bit of a rough patch, but we ended up, we bought a property in Port Credit, and we pretty much, demolished the whole building and we rebuilt it. During that process, there's a lot of things with the city that we had to clear up. We had to get permits, all kinds of stuff. So they overlapped. It was about a year from when we first bought the property until we were able to finish all the permits, finish all the zoning with the city. There was all kinds of stuff that we had to go through. And then finally we were able to pretty much move over. So it overlapped, like the mortgage and the rent overlapped for a year. And it's hard for any new business to do that.
100%.
It was a difficult process, but I think because it was me and my mom, we had good support for each other. So we were able to stick it out. And then, when we opened, it was like perfect. It was pretty much everything we imagined, because we were able to do, you can customize anything you want. So I had this vision of what I wanted it to look like. And at the end of the day, my mom wanted me to do it, but I was also young. So she was kind of like, okay, let's see what you're going to do. So I pretty much told her, this is how I want the hair part. You can take care of the spa and whatever you want to do at the spa, but let me kind of design the hair part. And she let me, and
so she gave you free range.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Luckily, we had a friend of hers who does custom woodwork, and he built all the stations custom for me. So I just kind of designed it with him.
That's super clutch to have someone like that.
Oh yeah, he's still around.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. He did some stuff for me in the salon now too.
Okay,
yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I'd like him to do more, but it gets a little pricey when you're doing custom woodwork.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. You're not building from templates anymore. It's from scratch.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So, how did your client or clientele, I guess, switch or transfer over to when you moved to Port Credit? Like, did you say like, we're kind of on hold until this place opens? What was the feedback you were getting? Were they frustrated?
Yeah.
Like, where did you send them? Did you cut hair out of your house? Like, what did you do at that point?
Well, during that time, because they overlapped, we were still doing some of them in Lorne Park.
Okay.
We were still working there. And I think there was a 2-week period where it was only 2 weeks where we did everything. So the second that everything was ready, we moved everything from one salon to the other. We had a whole new, we went from like, they were using books. So like appointment books to write appointments, like old school. So we went from that to now getting like a whole POS system, a booking system, like
You
everything,
can text
computers,
when your thing's ready.
like,
Yeah.
Yeah. So during that transition, I had to set all that up, and then we had to put all this inventory into it, and I had to add every single service that you could think of for hair, and I had to add every client that we ever had into the system. So we were there till like 3 a.m. every night. We were painting, we were doing everything. Like my mom actually really put her heart and soul into it. Like she worked hard.
Yeah.
Like it's funny because she did more stuff than my dad did when it came like hands on. But
It's funny how it works out sometimes.
Yeah, and I think that's why I do a lot of that kind of stuff too. But yeah, the process was it was interesting. It was definitely a lot of work, a lot of late nights. But when you're doing it for your own, you really don't mind it as much. Like,
yeah, it's your passion, exactly like
Yeah.
you said. So you're willing to put the work in because you're like imagining this dream come true, right?
Yeah, especially because I was young and I got to kind of like think of how the stations I wanted it to look like and everything. So it was really exciting for me too.
What'd you take inspo from?
You know what? Some of it was from just, places that I had seen. So like, visually seeing salons, and some of it was from, I think at the time was Pinterest, because I don't think I was on, maybe it was Instagram at the time, but I'm pretty sure it was more Pinterest.
Yeah.
Some stuff was online, and some stuff was honestly what I thought was going to be comfortable for the client, comfortable for me, and convenient. Like a lot of stations, there's not a lot of room for your hot tools, not a lot of room for clients to put their coffee or have their purse and stuff. And they're kind of just like back-to-back mirrors everywhere. And I didn't want that. I wanted people to feel like they had enough space in between each other to have a conversation where you're not eavesdropping on the person beside you.
Yeah. What's the main complaint you hear all the time from women?
Yeah.
Where can I put my bag? I don't want to put it on the floor. My bag's $1,000. What do you mean put it on the floor?
Yeah, and I'm a strong believer in that too. I'm like, don't put it on the floor.
Yeah,
My mom always says if you put your purse on the floor, you're gonna be broke. And I'm like, I don't know if it's true or not. It's obviously superstitious, but
no, but I'm glad you really thought it out. It wasn't just all glitz and glamour. Like you had some theory behind the madness in a way,
Yes, exactly. And some clients did have a difficult time because there was clients that first were already upset with the takeover, like kind of like a little bit of a takeover, right? Because we came in and it was this old school salon with like, plants everywhere and like that light pink color. And we wanted to make it modern and new without making the stylists that were there feeling uncomfortable either. But it was hard because when you're letting go of your business for that amount of time and seeing somebody else take over, like it's difficult.
For sure.
So when we moved to Port Credit, kind of everybody had gone their ways at that point. We had hired some new staff but some clients wanted to stay in their area. Like, even though it's not only like a 10 to 15 minute drive, some people it's a little bit far for them. Like,
yeah, I remember you saying when you were at a different salon a little bit later in your career path, you said that it was frustrating when clients needed to take public transportation because that bus route didn't go to this new spot. So, when you're older and elderly and maybe you have a cane, like it's not as easy as like a young person to take a couple buses and just block out that time of the day. Like,
some of them even walked from the area that they were in, and we just wanted the traffic. We just wanted like being on Lakeshore, being directly on Lakeshore. I thought that it was going to take us from where we were being this type of salon, being in a plaza that was a little bit more hidden. I wanted to kind of take us to the next level. And I thought that us being directly on Lakeshore and Port Credit, where people can walk and there's a lot of access and every type of clientele we could cater to, whether it was families, it was, the same clientele we had was, the younger generation, everything. We just wanted to be able to cater to everybody. And
100%.
I think that moving my career, especially not just the salon, into Port Credit, I think was dedefinitely a good decision.
Big
kind
smart
of got me
move.
where I am now too.
Awesome. So after Bells and Bows, rest in peace, had closed down, what was the deciding factor for that?
Well, during that time, my mom had a little bit of hardship. My dad had passed away during that time, and it was a little bit rough. And I've always been pretty much my mom's best friend. So working together, living together, and, grieving and
doing everything together
was a little bit tough. It was affecting our personal relationship. I remember at one point my brothers were even like, we're so tired of being in the middle of you, like you guys, like,
yeah, they're put in a tough spot too.
I'm venting to them. She's venting to them. They're like, I understand your point of view. I understand your point of view, until they had enough, you know, like it was great, but it was actually affecting our personal relationship. Like I was living with her at the time still. So when I would go home, I wouldn't want to hang out with my mom. Like I would be like, I'm just going out because
you need a break.
I needed a break. Sure. And at one point, I saw how stressed she was, because now she has a burden of, I mean, even though we were all above the age of 20, she still has 3 kids to take care of. She'd been with my dad since she was 16, so she didn't know any better. So now she has 2 mortgages, you know, and she has a family to take care of. So it was stressful on her. And I was too young to kind of step in and take over the financial responsibility as well. And obviously it affected our personal relationship. Right. So at that point I was like, maybe it's better for us to not work together, to kind of, you know, have a good relationship still. Like I did everything with her. So that's kind of our deciding factor, where we decided, okay, we ended up selling the property. And
how did that go? Who had the conversation with who?
So,
or was it kind of mutual? Like you both were like, oh, we both thinking this.
Yeah,
okay,
I think we both kind of, see, for me, I envisioned myself being like a salon like a hair educator. So I wanted to work for Wella or work for Redken. And then I also wanted to like travel. Like at that point in my life, I thought it would be really nice to like travel and do work.
Well, you're in your 20s, so yeah. I mean that's what everyone says, like live it up in your 20s.
Yeah, and I knew that like the second that I established that clientele and I stopped to do something like that, I wasn't gonna get that clientele back. So I thought, if I'm gonna do it at any point in time, I'm gonna do it now. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, I just had visioned something different for myself, and I always wanted to be a business owner, definitely, but I think it was a little bit of everything at that point, and it was a mutual conversation pretty much where we decided. And obviously as soon as my brothers heard that, they're like, yep, that was the first thing that we suggested. Like, you guys need to just, you don't need to work together, you know? And my mom didn't need the stress of running a business. Like at that point, she just needed to like go to work, you know,
enjoy what she's doing, but not take on the financial responsibility, the hours, the like, literally
everything,
paying the employees, like making sure everything gets done.
Yeah. It was a lot. It was a lot. So I think it was, you know, when I look at it now, I definitely think, if I knew everything that I knew now, and I had this knowledge when I was 22, 23, I would have went to the bank and insisted on getting whatever loan I could possibly get and take over everything. But obviously I was young and I didn't know.
You're following the footsteps you thought were in front of you and you saw. 100%. You can only do so much, right?
Yeah, but at the same time, I do think that it led me to where I am now too. Because if I didn't branch off and go work at another salon and see what actually was out there, I was kind of in this little bubble where I had only had to work kind of for my mom. Like I had worked at another salon when I was 16 assisting, but again, I was 16. It was a little bit different. I was just being an assistant on Saturdays. So I think I needed to kind of get out there and see what it was like and work for another place. And, you know, I mean, it was a big difference, but I think I needed to see it so it could take me to where I am now.
100%. So then let's transition to that next place. So you left Bells and Bows is gone. And then you went to another salon in Port Credit, or is this the one in Lauren Park?
At that time I had moved to Clarkson.
Clarkson. Oh my gosh.
I'm like back and forth.
So we went to Clarkson.
Back and forth.
And you were a senior hairstylist then, or what? Yes. What was your title?
I was a senior hairstylist there. So I had brought my clientele with me. At this point, I had established a good clientele.
I remember getting the text because you're like, I'm moving. Like, just letting everyone know. I'm like, whew, thank God. She once she closed, she was still gonna do the same thing because I don't know where I would have gone.
I know. And I wanted to make sure that I like reached out to every client as possible.
It was very good of you
to let them know. Mm-hmm. And I also didn't want to go too far because again, you know, in the past, I've obviously seen that people are not going to follow you that far. So I had to stay within like a certain amount of distance.
Yeah.
So,
where were you living? Sorry to interrupt.
So it's
still with your mom.
At this point, we sold our family house that we were in for 20 plus years.
Okay.
And I moved out on my own.
Okay. Yeah. And were you in the Port Credit-ish area?
I was living in a condo by Square One.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
At that time, for about 2 years, I was living in a condo by Square One. So now I had like my own
place,
my own things to pay for.
Yeah.
So when I moved to that new salon in Clarkson, I brought my clients with me, and it was a whole different pay structure. It was a whole different system. Like they want you to be on this, minimum wage hourly, which I can understand, but at the same time, I'm bringing in clients and I'm used to a certain way. So I was okay. I'm like, let's just, let's see how it goes.
Was it negotiable? negotiable? Why
Yeah.
can't I speak?
That's okay.
Negotiable?
Yeah.
Or was that very like, no, you start at that rate and we'll talk about it like
That's
later?
what they said. They basically said you're starting. I said I want to go on commission because I know, what clients I have. If you don't have a clientele, going on commission doesn't make sense. But when you have a clientele, you want to make the most that you can make. And
100%.
And if I'm getting paid hourly and I'm, working this many clients, I was kind of like, I did the math and I'm like, it would make sense for me to go on commission. So I had asked them that and they were like, well, typically it takes, these levels of sales to kind of get into going on commission. So they said, let's just see how it goes. So I said, okay, I needed a job at this point, a place to work. So
you didn't have much of an option, I guess, either.
Yeah.
So you're like, let's just do it.
Like I was like, I wanted to find a good salon. And I also during that time went to a few interviews to be an educator. And when I realized, the traveling part, I think I was okay with, but it wasn't as glamorous as I thought it was going to be. So it was a lot of traveling. It wasn't as much money that I had just been making too. So like I definitely, I didn't want to, it's okay to go down a little bit when you're kind of starting and moving around, but I also didn't want to lose all my clientele and make less money. And then I was worried
start from ground zero again and have to work all the way up.
Exactly. Especially like working at the bar and doing all these things. I tried to set myself up.
Oh yeah, you're still working the bar at that point.
Yeah, I wanted to buy a house by the time I was 25. I wanted to have at this time I finally bought myself a BMW. I was like, I wanted to my expectations for me at 25 were high, and I wanted to get to that point. But now I'm kind of like only a couple years to get there. How am I going to get there?
Yeah, yeah.
So when I went there, I was working at the bar still. So I was like, okay, you know what? If I'm going to go on hourly, at least it'll make up the difference by me working at the bar.
Right.
And then after about 3 months of trying, and I brought my clients over there, and it just wasn't enough for me. I met a lot of good people there, made friends with a few people too. And the owner was a fantastic woman. She had that salon for 50 years. And
wow.
She is very knowledgeable, and she just had a really good grace about her. I don't know. I just really like working for her. And I even when I had approached her to kind of say it wasn't enough money, it was a hard conversation to have, but I already had it in my head. It always is
when you're on really good terms with
Yes,
the person.
that's the
Is
hardest
it going to be awkward? Are they going to understand?
Yes.
Are they going to see eye to eye with me?
Yes. And I think at that point too, for me, I always try to leave on good terms no matter what it is. I don't like to hold
no
grudges.
No bad blood, tension, see them on the street and you're like, I gotta run.
Yes. And that makes it even harder because,
100%,
I'm trying to say goodbye, but I'm also
keeping doors open at the same time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and I wanted to make sure I wasn't making the wrong decision, but at that point, the only reason why I decided to have that conversation is because my mom went to go work at a place in Port Credit, and she was working there for about 3 months, and I was working at the place in Clarkson for about 3 months. And she kept saying come over here. She's going to put you on commission. She's going to give you this. She's going to give you this. She wants you here. She wants you here. She wants you here. And I'm like, okay, let me just come in and talk to this woman. So I went to go talk to her, and I'm like, and at this point I had known for myself, promises sometimes don't always get fulfilled, So even though she's saying all these amazing things to me, how do I know these are actually going to be true?
Yeah.
So
they can change their mind whenever they want.
Exactly. So I decided I would work there Mondays on top of the other 2 jobs I was working to kind of see how I liked it.
Oh, go. Okay.
So I worked there Mondays. I brought some clients that didn't want to go to Clarkson there. Kind of felt it out.
Keeping your clientele.
Yeah,
happy.
Yeah. So I was some were texting me, some were calling the salon. Then I was going to the bar. Then it was a little bit of a mess for a little while. But for me, I always feel I need to do my research before I make a change. And I think I have calculated thoughts, when it comes to that kind of stuff. So after about, I think it was 3.5 months, I didn't really give a long period of time, but I already knew where it was leading to. It was going to take me, so much more time to get where I wanted to working at this place.
The one in Port Credit.
The one in Clarkson.
Oh, the one in Clarkson. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, at that point I went and I had a conversation with her, and she was like, no, what can we do to have you stay? And I was teary eyes. I was I don't want to leave, but it has nothing to do with anything except it's just strictly about the financial part. And you guys can't give me what I need. And I understand that. It was a big salon, and if they're going to do it for me, they're going to have to do it for everybody, and I could understand that, but I needed to do this.
It's time to spread your wings and fly to the next place.
Yeah. And then I started working full time at the other place. And when I moved over there, I quit the bar. So I kind of went all in. At that point, I was like, okay, I'm going to take a chance and I'm going to do it.
Wait, you didn't even say. So now you're working with your mom again.
Yes. I left that part out.
I was like, you let that slide.
Yes.
So what, because you said originally you had only been working the Mondays at the place in Port Credit.
Yeah.
So now was it like a Monday to Friday kind of thing or like Tuesday to Saturday? And then when was your mom in?
So Mondays in the hair industry are just not busy to begin with. So at that point, she was trying something new out with having people work Mondays, and we kind of decided that like it wasn't worth it. So I went back to working Tuesday to Saturday at the salon. The only reason why I agreed to go there was obviously A, the income, and B, because me and my mom weren't running a business together. So she was working in the back in the spa. I was in the hair department. I wasn't working for her. That was the problem a little bit, was like I would think of all these promotions and ideas when we had the salon, and she would let me, have free reign. And then all of a sudden she'd be like, no, that's too low. And I'm like, but I just did all this work. And I'm like, and I already told people about it. I already put it out on social media. Like and she's like, no, too low. I'm like, you can't undermine me like that. Like,
okay. So I fully see where these arguments stemmed from.
So I think I was like, maybe we can work together, but not work like
for each other,
or
sense,
I work for her, vice versa. So yeah, we did that. And it was interesting too, when I made the move. But when I started working there, again, I had met a lot of really good people. I stayed friends with a couple people from the other place I worked at, which was nice too, because you meet a lot of people along the way. And in this industry, like you always end up running into people again. Yeah. No matter what it is.
It's not that big of a parameter you've set for yourself here. So like, yeah, chances are it's gonna happen again.
Yeah. So when I had started working there, it's funny. Actually, one of my best friends now, I had met her there, and she was so intimidating to me. Like, she was scary. She had like tattoos, and she was kind of like, I mean, I have tattoos too, but like, to me, I was like, to her, I was this like prissy kind of like bougie girl, I guess, which I'm not, but I guess you could think that.
Get the vibe.
And to me, I was like, she's kind of like intimidating, and she had a little bit of like a rockish feel to her. So like we looked like different people, but we're still like really good friends till this day. And I ended up meeting her working at that place. And that was kind of like what got me comfortable with staying there. I made some good friends there.
The money was better.
I was able to bring my clients there. And I feel like when you're on commission, like the motivation is a little bit more as well, because if I'm not doing a client, I'm not making money. So my motivation was like, I need to get fully booked like every single day. I need to put it out on social media. I need to do promotions. I gave out free blow dries. I did a lot. Like I would assist the, even though I was a senior stylist, I would still assist the owner, and I would be like, I'll help you with your blow dries. Like, because I just wanted people to visually see me.
Oh yeah. Like and showing face is the way to go, especially to like all these people that have been going to that salon for so long, and you were the outsider coming in. Yes. You're like, hi, I'm Nour, like trying to show everyone who I am.
And obviously we know how like women can be with each other. Like I like to empower other women, but there's a lot of people that aren't like that you come in and I'm the new person, and it's a little bit different. And I went from, being able to run a salon with my mom or help her where we had staff, and now I'm the new person coming in. So I just kept reminding myself not to let anything bother me, and that I was a new person coming in, and I understand why there was a little bit of cattiness in there. But shortly after that, everything kind of, I will say, like all the girls there were great. Like there was not a lot of cattiness.
So the people you worked alongside were good.
Yes.
Okay.
The owner, not so much. I wasn't really happy long-term working there, but
so you made your move to transition out again.
Yeah. So at that point, I started actually managing that business. My mom was the spa manager. I was the
at the place in Port Credit?
Yeah.
Holy.
Yeah. When you came there, I was managing the salon. My mom was managing the spa.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. It's like a little bit of like, but I started managing it. And the funny thing is, she didn't even hire me as a manager. I just noticed that we were lacking
certain things.
Yeah, like the clients wouldn't have anywhere to go to for complaints. They wouldn't have to go anywhere for questions that they had about prices. Like we didn't have a receptionist at this point either. So we were all answering phones, and people had questions, and I always had the initiative to go to the desk and go talk to people. And at first I wasn't understanding why the other girls weren't doing it. I was like, why aren't you doing it?
Yeah.
I don't understand. And they'd be like, trust me, you're going to learn the hard way. You're going to learn the hard way. Like, don't, there's no point in doing that.
But this is just who you are. Like,
making sure everything gets done.
Like, it's like after working with your mom at Bells and Bows, you're like, no, like this is like, I'm making sure like stuff gets done. Like, what do you mean I'm going to learn the hard way?
Yeah. And I was like, I just, I kept doing it and doing it and doing it. And then slowly, I like to see things on my own anyways. Like, you can tell me 10 times that this isn't a good idea, but I probably will still do it because I want to see it for myself.
Yeah.
So, so I did that for a little while. I was there for a couple years, and, you know, in the long run, I guess I realized like maybe I shouldn't have done it, but at the same time I learned for myself, and I ended up not being very happy working there.
And you moved again too. You were in Port Credit again, not in a condo.
Yeah, I had moved. So at this point I was, you know, dating somebody that I wasn't in such a good relationship at this point, but I was living in Etobicoke now. And I think shortly after that, I ended up going through like a big breakup too. And it was a hard process, but I think I hit like 26 maybe. And I think I was finally like, you know, friends started changing, relationships started changing. And I realized like, this is not the route that I was going in my personal life with the people I was hanging out with, like my friends who I was dating, wasn't necessarily the route I wanted to take. Like I thought it was normal, but then, you know, you see certain things in a different light when you're not actually in it. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted better for myself. Like I just thought I deserved better.
So you did a big cleanse.
Yeah. Of everything, I got rid of my long-term relationship. I made new friends too. Got a new place. And at that point, I didn't really have any notice when I left this place of work. There was a little bit of, you know, issues in there, but she had asked me to pretty much to leave. Like this is the first place I didn't leave. So I think it was just a little bit of like people liked the fact that I was managing the place, and the staff started having a voice, and it was different.
And it wasn't like that before.
So all of a sudden, you know, these two Chibli women come in and we're changing everything for the better, but obviously it's not maybe what she wanted. Right. So, and
everyone works differently. So
yeah,
what one owner/manager will appreciate and like and enjoy that you've changed, another one will despise you for it because you've changed the way things have been working just fine for all these years.
Yes, exactly. And people started having a little bit of a voice, and I think, I mean, it didn't go over well, but there was a lot of messiness during that process that we don't have to get into. But
well, people tend to like stand more their ground when they feel comfortable that other people are doing so around them. Yes. They have more of a voice when other people start to have a voice, right? So they're more comfortable to speak out.
Yeah.
So then you started doing hair out of my
apartment. So I moved to Port Credit at this point, and I was in my apartment, and I got an email Monday morning. I think the day before I was in the hospital for something. I don't remember what it was, but I remember waking up Monday morning and having an email of like, you know, basically termination, and then I wasn't able to come into work, and my whole world was upside down. Like,
that's scary.
It's also a client-based industry.
Yeah.
So I'm like, my clients.
What are you going to do?
That was my first thing where I went. My clients, I have appointments this week. Oh my God, I have rent to pay. Oh my God, I have a car to pay.
Everything just piles in.
All of these things to pay for. And I had already taken a big hit working at the other place and not making as much. So all the savings that I had gone through to like set myself up, you know, slowly but surely, like things cost money. It wasn't at where I wanted to be at 25, and now I'm 27. So at that point when I was 27, I wasn't at where I wanted to be. So I thought, what can I do? What's going to be the fastest way to get my clients to like have a place? So I called a few salons to see if I could just like rent a chair or bring them there temporarily. And I wasn't really happy with any of, you know, what they wanted.
But did any of the places say yes?
Yes.
But just like on the terms you kind of wanted, they were
like it was a temporary thing. So I knew it was a temporary thing. I didn't know what my next move was at that point, but I knew it was going to be a temporary thing until I figured it out. So I was like, if I move my clients again, like every time you move, your clients get a little bit bothered more and more. Some people don't mind, you know, obviously you didn't mind at all. You're like, I'm just going to follow Nour because I love what she does.
Yeah.
But some people, like,
not everyone thinks like me.
And I understand. And I understand because change is hard for people in general, right? So I'm like bouncing back and forth now. I think this is the fourth salon. So my apartment luckily was literally next door and above the place that I had been working at.
This was kind of clutch. I was like, how do you get this kind of setup?
Yeah, you're like, where am I going? Yeah, you're like, where am I going? I'm like, next door and upstairs. Like,
I was like, this door?
Yeah, you're like, where does this door lead to? Like, it's like hidden door.
The door doesn't match what her place looked like. Yeah. So I was like, this is already not like Nour. Like, this door is so dingy.
Yeah, I know.
I like walk up and I was like, this is a bomb ass place.
I know. When I first saw that place, I looked at it and I was like, it has potential, but it needs work. And I ended up like putting in like subway backsplash tiles myself. My mom helped me, painted the whole place. I added like a little closet cabinet in there.
You gave it a facelift.
I gave it a facelift. Yeah. I changed it up. I'm like, I know myself. I won't live here if it's not clean. And at the same time, I had just gone through a breakup, moved out of this townhouse, and I was like, I just need to go somewhere.
Wait, so you went from condo to townhouse to apartment?
To apartment, yeah.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed your parents' place.
Yeah, that was there too.
Then the condo, then the...
Oh, there was another place in the middle of all that. I lived with my brothers for a little period of time.
How was that?
It was good. It was like no parents, but living together. It was for like, I think about a year in the middle of that all. It was good. It was actually, it kept us like close.
That's good.
Living with two boys was a little bit difficult.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I feel you on that.
Yeah, it was a little hard. So at that point I was in the apartment and
so you bought all this equipment or like
I literally the next day. Did
you just go on, like, I guess Amazon Prime wasn't even a thing then. Like where did you buy all this stuff off of?
So the funny part is like my boyfriend at the time, who's my fiance now, I had called him and I was like hysterical and he was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? I don't understand. And I'm like, this is a situation. Like I need to act fast because she was already kind of trying to get my clients to come there. And I was like, I need to act fast. I need to let everybody know, social media, email, everything, like what my next move is.
Yeah.
So
you're thinking like 10 steps ahead and he's like just trying to like figure out what you just said over the phone.
Yeah. I'm like, hey, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and this. He's like, what? I didn't even know that you got let go. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, okay, this is what I got to do. So I found a bunch of places. So I found like, I bought a mirror from one place that was nice. I found a salon wholesaler place that had like chairs. I went to my supplier who I already had a relationship with for so many years and I bought like a lot of color products. I had all my tools at least. So I had to get lighting for the apartment because I needed proper lighting for coloring. And I pretty much set everything up by the end of that week. And then I had already reached out to everybody and I started using that Square. So
yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, because I was like, I need to charge people.
Because you're so excited to show. You're like, I got the Square.
Yeah.
I remember I was like, wow, she like fully is set up.
Yeah. Like, so I got the Square and I download like.
Do you want to describe what the Square is, just in case they don't know?
So it's basically it's a very small square, about this small, and you just plug it into your phone where your aux would go, and it's essentially like a POS system, pretty much. So I can
like a mobile version.
Yeah. So I was able to do like credit card charging and everything for anybody at any point in time, just through that app. Like you download the app and it kind of goes hand in hand. So it was convenient. It was quick. I was able to go. I think I went to like Best Buy and bought it. So it was quick. Like, so I was able to do that very fast, and it was one of the ones that had a better rate and kind of a quicker way when you receive the money. And it was also convenience. At that point, I was just wanting convenience. I was like, what is going to be easy for me and my clients?
Exactly.
Right? So
you're all set up in your apartment.
I had an app for like my booking schedule, and I did that for, I think it was a few months. When I was, it was at least 4 to 5 months actually, because it was into the new year, and I had left that place in October. So.
How did your clients feel about that change? Because I feel like that's the most large one in the sense that, okay, it's import credit, but it's not a salon anymore. They're coming into your actual home. So I feel like some people, like, I don't know, my grandma, for example, someone's super traditional and like there's stairs or like there's no like it's not,
there were stairs,
you just walk in, right?
And the stairs were pretty steep.
Yeah,
like,
they were. And they were kind of narrow too, no?
Yeah, they were narrow too.
So
how was that? A trap.
We're making this sound like literally like an alleyway, like in New York City that's like dingy and anyway.
So my fire escape reminded me of New York City on the side. I was like, this reminds me of New York.
Kind of looks like it. No, I'm scared. Yeah. So how was it transition for your clients? Did you have a lot of clients during that period, or was it just kind of filler?
At this point, I had been hairdressing for 10 years. Like, I mean, I started working in the salon when I was 16, even though I started building a clientele probably by 18, 19. Especially with makeup. Like when I was in grade 9, I was doing grade 12 people for prom.
That's sick.
I was doing everybody's eyebrows. Like, so at that point I had already an established clientele, but I knew which clients would be comfortable coming and which ones wouldn't.
Okay.
Like there's certain clients that I know that, wouldn't have been able to do stairs, or, just saying that it was in my home was a little bit uncomfortable for them. And then I had the ones that I knew that had no problem. They would just come to me like you, wherever I was. Right. So I reached out to everybody. I told everybody. And then the ones that I thought would be a little bit, hesitant, I messaged them like personally, and I just told them, this is where I'm at temporarily. I didn't have enough time to kind of figure this out. So this is just a temporary thing. I completely understand if you're not comfortable coming here, and I can definitely refer you to somebody at the time. So my friend was still working at the salon I had just worked
So you
at.
had a good backup plan because you're like, okay, if I'm not getting the sales, then my friend better be getting it.
She's going to be getting the sales.
Yeah.
I and the thing is, at the salon that I was working at, there was people that did great colors and there was people that were a little bit less experienced. And I didn't want...
Yeah, everyone has their strength.
Yeah. And I didn't want my clients to be going to somebody that wasn't experienced because I didn't think that they were going to tell them that because they just wanted really my clients to stay at that point. So I didn't want them to have their hair fried or cut or ruined or any of these things and not be in good hands. So I was like, even if you're not going to come to me, whether you never come back to me or not, I just want you to be in good hands. Like, and she's an amazing stylist. So I wanted her to get the money too. Why not? It's a kind of win-win,
Look at
right?
you, like thinking of others.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, but you know what? I will say majority of them were okay coming because I guess they had been there, right? They had been there doing everything. So the ones that weren't comfortable with the move along the way, I had probably had moved on already, you know? And some of them came back to me later on in life, which is so weird. Like the ones that from Bells and Bows in the first place that I didn't get had found me at that salon. So it was just
wild.
Yeah. Cause they go, sometimes when you're not happy with a stylist, you go to different salons trying to look for somebody and they would come in, they're like, Nour? Like, I'm like, oh my God, it's been,
how many
you're
years?
so old now. Like you're
No,
so much
they
older.
don't.
No,
They
like I'm
don't.
older, right? But they're like, look at you, you're a woman. And I'm like, oh my God, I haven't seen you in so long. So it was nice to see them too, right? And
of course, familiar faces.
Yeah. And yeah, at that point, I didn't want to lose my clientele. I needed income and I just wanted to do whatever was the fastest way. I mean, I did have a lot of support from my family. I will say that. Like my mom has always been my rock and she was like, anything you need, you know, because my mom also got let go that day too.
I was going to ask, like, what happened to your mom?
We both got let go the same day.
time.
She was like, I'm going to cut these managers out because I want to take over my salon again, obviously, right? Like, so at that point, my mom is quick on her feet too. Like she was the next day, like found a place, found a job. That's it. She was already the next day.
She was already set.
Oh yeah, she was set. I don't even know how
did you move your client list? Because now, was that computerized or was that
it was computerized. So,
because I remember you telling me a little bit of it, but I don't remember how you actually, like, did you get the full list? Did you get part of the list? Like,
yeah. So
how'd that go?
My clients that I had originally followed me everywhere, I had their numbers in my cell phone. And even though I started working there, I gave access to all my clients into their system. So they had everything in there. So they were even reaching out to my clients that I had brought with me. Obviously, most of them were loyal customers. The ones that I had built there, you know, I'm a strong believer in like when you leave somewhere, it's a small business and I didn't want to take away from them, but there is people that didn't matter. Like they wanted to come to me no matter what.
They didn't care about what the name was on the building at all.
No.
Yeah.
So I wasn't about to, you know, try to poach the customers that I got from there, but I knew that there was people that had always told me, if you leave here
you tell me
you don't give me your information, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
Like you need to give me your information. So some of those people I had either on Instagram, social media, you know, so I tried to reach out to as much as I could just to let them know because I felt bad.
Yeah, well, this is a pro to social media at that point in time.
Yes.
Like,
it was like my platform for everything.
I don't know how you would have.
That was my portfolio. So people even started searching my name and they would find my Facebook. They would find my personal Instagram, my hair Instagram. Like they would just find something.
I'd be like, where'd you go?
They're just looking for me.
Yeah.
And then some of them had asked my friend that was still working that salon and like, she couldn't give out information, but she was like, you know, she's in the area. She just kept saying she's in the area.
Because was the manager around so she couldn't be like...
Well, I think she also was like, I think the owner had probably already told her like...
I know you're close with Nour, don't say anything.
Yeah, I'm pretty
sure.
Or
else you're next to go.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. Something along those lines probably.
So terrible.
She wasn't happy either, but she needed a job at that point.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know what I was doing.
Exactly.
So I'm like, just like, you're not going to follow me. And one of the other girls quit the next day though. She was like, I've had enough. You know, Hannah Nour, like the one reason why this place was like even
manageable to work
manageable at all, right?
Yeah.
Like, so she had enough. She already wanted to leave before, and she was just like a mom with 3 kids.
So this was like a breaking point for her when she saw all this happening. She was like, "Me too."
Yeah, she's like, "I'm out," and I was like, "Okay, yay,
women power!"
Yes, I love it. So she had left too, and like it was just a lot of changes because right before I had left too, a few other stylists decided to make a really big move and they moved to a different salon. 3 of them had left too. And like, I think everybody had a breaking point too. And like, it was just a hard environment to work in. Like, and some people, it was affecting their health. Some people it was affecting their personal relationships. I know my relationship with like my fiance now, but he was so tired of hearing me vent to him every single day.
Oh, I'm sure.
He was like,
you can only take so many of those conversations.
Yeah, he's just like, I've kind of had enough. Like, I understand and I'm going to support you, but like, do something about it at this point.
Yeah.
And I just am like those kind of person that just like, I got to stick it out. I'm going to stick it out. I'm going to stick it out. It's going to get better.
You don't stick it out for so long.
Yeah. And then I'm like.
Until you break.
Yeah. And then I'm like, so I actually already had in my head that I wanted to go, but I just couldn't like.
Make that move?
I couldn't make it. And so it was kind of the kick in the butt
just forced you
that
to.
I needed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really needed it. And I'm glad it happened because I'd probably still be, stressed out. And, sometimes we didn't have colors and different things. So it was stressful for me when I was working. It was a stressful environment. It was like, it was just a little bit tough. So
yeah,
I wanted to do it. But again, it gave me the kick in the butt that I needed.
For sure. Okay. So then after you worked out of your apartment for those few months, what pushed you to be like, I want to open a salon this time, and it's not gonna be under my mom, it's gonna be me.
Yeah.
Like me, myself, and I.
Yeah. So I think
what was your business plan?
Well, so I actually didn't have a plan. And I didn't have a plan at this point.
What? The organized Nour did not have a plan.
Know. I didn't have a plan, and I did not have the means to do it at that point in time. I wasn't prepared for it. I knew what I wanted to do. Like I had my goal when I'm 30, I'm going to open up a salon. I'm going to do it by myself. I'm going to do this. But I was, I think 27 at that point, and like it all happened so fast. So I wasn't prepared for it. So at that point, I had, obviously I had called people for the chair rentals and figure everything out, and nothing was working. So there's actually a business down the street from where my apartment was, and it's a cell phone store. And I remember it was, I think, I just had a rough day. I remember everything was kind of hitting me. I was walking down the street, and I had my friend's dog with me at the time, Beanie, who was with me at the time.
Cute.
I love her. And I was walking down the road, and she was kind of like pulling me, dropped my cell phone, it broke. And I was like, kind of broke down. I had enough that day. It was just a really bad day.
That one last straw.
Yeah, it was a really bad day. And I went into that cell phone store and I was like, I just need it fixed. And I had knew him from the area. Like I always said hi to him. We were always chatty. And he's like, what's going on? Like, and I'm like, and I just kind of broke down to him. I was like, I got fired. I this, I that. Like I started breaking down, and he was like, I thought that was your place. He honestly thought I was the owner because I was like,
because you showed that much ownership.
I was doing everything, and I was always there.
Yeah.
I was always there. Like, so I kind of explained everything to him, and he's like, how much you need to open up a salon? I'm like, what?
This is the guy at the phone store?
Yes, at the cell phone store.
And like he works there.
He owns the store. Yeah. He owns the cell phone store. And he was like, well, how much do you need to open a salon? Like, what does it cost? And I was like, well, I'm X amount of off the top of my head, what I think, And he was like, okay, bring me some papers. Let me see. We'll talk. And I'm like, what? So I went home, and like, I think it was like 2 days later, I pretty much made a business plan. I pretty much said like, okay, this is what it's going to cost for everything. This is where we can go. And I already had a vision of everything that I wanted to see. I already knew in my head what it would look like, where I'd want it to go, how I would promote it, like all of that stuff. I just had to kind of give him the plan, and so I brought it over to him, and
you went back to the phone store, like into
the phone store, and I was like, so, Martin, this is my business plan. What do you think about it? And he was like, okay. And we chatted for a bit, and he agreed to invest in the salon. And
holy cow,
that kind of made my dreams come true at that point, So he gave me free reign to do everything, to design everything. I honestly, I owe everything to him because I wouldn't have been able to do any of that without him. So he kind of, was like, I'm going to sit back. I'm going to be like more like the silent part. You can run the business how you want. You can decorate how you want. You can do this, Obviously, when it came to some of the financial point, would discuss that stuff,
100%.
obviously. But he was like, I guess he just, which is crazy to me. How would you trust me? How do you don't know me? But he's like, I feel good about this. He's like, I feel good about this.
Wow,
I
he
think
really
you know your
saw
stuff.
something in you.
And I think because he thought I had, the other salon was mine. So he saw how hard I worked without even really knowing me. Like he saw I was always there. And he knew I lived down the street. He knew people that I knew too, because I know that I've lived in Port Credit my whole life pretty much.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Obviously
paths cross, names get dropped. 100%.
Yeah. And he had spoken to other people that knew me and knew my family, knew what kind of stylist I was, what kind of person I was. And and he agreed. So at that point, we started looking for places that were available for lease.
And you want to be on Lakeshore.
I wanted to be on Lakeshore. I still had that plan.
Mm-hmm.
I still had that plan. I wanted to be on Lakeshore. And we started looking around, and this was probably November when we started having this conversation. It was about a month after. Still doing my clients in my apartment, during the process, letting them know that now I've decided we're gonna open up a place in Port Credit. I just don't know where or what yet. Mm-hmm. And I pretty much gave myself like from probably around Stave Bank to where like La Villa Bakery was, like or Cumberland, like around there.
Yes.
Like that was kind of like the area I wanted to be in. But in Port Credit, it's really hard to find a commercial property available for lease. And if you do, they either don't have proper zoning. They don't
what
have.
Does that mean, proper zoning?
With the city, again, going into these zonings and permits, like there's zoning for any type of establishment that you're going to have. So if you're a hair salon or a retail store, you have different type of zoning. Oh. So for a hair salon, it's personal establishment. For like say a cell phone store, it's retail. Restaurant has their own too. Like everybody has their own zoning they need. So some of these units don't have zoning for what you need. And then you have to go through the process of permits and all that stuff that I went through with my mom. And I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
So
like, I need to get this up and running now.
Like yesterday. Yeah.
Yesterday.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, we need, like, I had a list of the top things. We need to find a place that is going to be available and have proper zoning with a good size. Has to be in this area, has to be affordable, and it can't need too much work because a lot of them like needed a lot of work. So we just kept looking and we just kept looking and looking and looking and looking and
like kind of like almost hitting the refresh page every time just to see in Port Credit like what would.
He even started looking up to Clarkson. Like we looked everywhere and like we were having a hard time. And finally, this one unit came up and we went to go speak to, like right away we're like, don't even put, I think we had heard through the grapevine. I don't even think that they had a sign or ad out yet. We're like, don't even put up a sign.
Quick it was.
We need to come talk to you. Somebody had told us, I don't remember who it was, but somebody had mentioned this unit. And I was like, okay, let's go find out. And at this time, his cell phone store was where the salon is now. So he was in that unit at this moment.
Okay.
Where the salon is today.
Yes.
That was his cell phone store at that moment.
Okay.
So the unit was a few doors down. So we went to go see it. And, you know, during the process of everything, we pretty much said like, it's a little bit small and they didn't have water. So we would have to do a lot of plumbing work and stuff too.
Oh, it's expensive.
And I gave him an idea. I was kind of like, I don't know if he's going to go for it, but I'm going to give an idea. I'm like, what if you moved your cell phone store over there? Because it's easy. It's a cell phone store. Like he didn't need water. He didn't need that much zoning. He didn't need all of these things. And he obviously knew the landlord that he had, and he would have been easygoing with that switch. And the woman from the new unit that we met was amazing. That family was so kind. Like they were just, I loved them.
Aww.
Funny enough, they have a huge salon, like a big franchise. So she was like, oh my God, you're going to put a little salon in here. Like my brother has a really big salon, like a huge franchise.
Yeah.
And so at that moment he was like, you know what? I think this is going to be our easiest thing to do. Like, so
he was very taking to the idea, which that's good.
Yeah. So
imagine if he said, nah, I really like where my store is though. Cause he could have very easily.
He could have, and then we would have had to keep looking.
Yeah.
I think at this point it was already, I think it was January or February. So it already taken us like a few months and we weren't finding anything.
But you're very active on it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like every day I was out, I was asking people if they had known, if anything came up, let me know, you know, if your lease is up. Even my landlord, where I was living in my apartment, he owns the whole building. So there's a storefront underneath, and I'd asked him, but their lease was still, you know, not going to be up for a while.
Right.
Yeah. So he agreed. And it was like, at that moment, we're like, okay, let's get started. So we moved his place over, and I'm pretty sure we did it in like 3 days.
Wow.
Like, I think it happened fast. He moved everything over. And we did all of the renovations in the salon, plumbing. We had to put up a spa room at this point. We had to install sinks. We had to do all new lighting, electrical, everything that we had to do. We had to get signs. All that stuff takes a long time, permits, all of these things. And I think we did it in like 5.5 weeks, which was like to do that all was really fast.
Record breaking.
Yeah, it was really fast. So I think that was the beginning of February, probably the first week of February. And we ended up opening up March 25th. Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah. It was amazing. And like, during that process, my number one thing was, how am I going to find staff? Like,
yeah, I was just going to like segue into that.
Yeah.
So did you poach from the previous places you worked at? Or did you have friends of friends? Like how did that come about?
Basically I had an idea in my head of stylists that I knew that were unhappy where they worked. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to put it out there, let them know, because I wanted to start small. I think a lot of reason why a lot of businesses open and close very fast is because they try to go too big too fast. And
they say scale appropriately to
yes,
like what your needs are at that time.
Exactly. And the other part is like, it's a big financial burden. Like I didn't want to be starting off a new business with that much debt. And I had already had established clientele. If I didn't, I probably wouldn't have done that. That's a big part. You can't just open up a hair salon without established clientele and
100%.
expect that you're going to have all these walk-ins. Like you need a base for your business first. Like you need the foundation and you can build up. So I thought, okay, why don't we start small, you know, build a good team and get our name out there, get everybody to know Beauty in the Blowdryer. And then eventually, you know, we can work our way up. And so I found a couple people from one salon I worked at, and my friend from the other salon that I worked at. And there was a co-op student that had worked under me for like 3 years. I brought her as well at the time. And again, and I kind of just built a good team for myself. And I just felt like everybody that I brought were really good stylists, good people, and they needed an opportunity to know that they can make more money and be happy where you work, and that, you know, you don't have to own your own business to make it. Because I think that they kept thinking like, well, I can only be an owner to make this kind of money. And that's not true. You can achieve it. You have to set goals for yourself, and, you know, and you can get there. And
I'm glad that you instilled that in them.
Yeah.
You're like, I want everyone to grow. I want everyone to set goals.
Yes.
Like this
Even
isn't a
till
place
this day,
where we
like
just
I always say
get
that
stale. Like
no, like there's so much room for growth. Like they're, you know, their bottom is already better than what it was, but like there's so much room for growth. And like I don't have, you know, these set numbers for like sales that they have to hit, because it's hard. Like we're not in that kind of industry
too. Like
I understand that we need to make sales and we need to sell products, and I'm all for that. You know, that is a big part of the business, but I don't want to sell my clients something that they don't need just because I want to make money. Like for me, if I'm going to tell you something, it's probably because you're really going to need it. And most of the time you're going to trust me because I don't say it often. Like when is the last time I told you to buy a product that you really,
like
really needed?
Forever ago. Oily plex. I can't even say it.
All the plex, my favorite.
Yes, the stuff you preach. I think it was in your apartment. You put it in my hair for the first time, and then because my mom was still paying for my haircuts at that time, so I brought home the bill, and she was like, "Why is it higher than last time?" I was like, well, Nour said my hair is really dry, and I really need this product to make it like better because I work at the pool. And my mom's like, okay. And she just like put it away. Yeah. And then I kept getting every time. And then you're like, I think you should just buy like the bottle or the mask. It'd probably be cheaper.
It'd
like
be cheaper,
you weren't even trying to cop my money. Like you literally like, if you love it this much, like literally just buy it. So that's literally the only product I can think of. Like you're not that type of person at all that like shoves all these products like.
Yeah. Like if I look at it as like I'm an educator. So I'm going to educate you on the products that you need, because that's a big part of this industry. I'm going to educate you on all the products that you need and what would be good for your hair. I'm not going to push you. Yeah. If you can do it, then great. If not, maybe you can do things slowly, but I'm just going to let you know what I think you need. Yeah. Because I think that's the best approach to it, because I'm building like a loyalty with my client. I'm building trust. I'm building 100%. All these things, right?
They're like, your words are the Bible in the hair world, where like, if you're saying this is going to work, they're going to put their money into that product and trust that what you're saying is true, and it's hopefully going to work on their hair. Yeah. Right.
And it's the same with the staff. I tell them the same thing. Like, you know, just educate your clients, and I try my best to educate them. I put them in a couple classes yearly, and I'm always trying to kind of, we cover half of their education throughout the year, because I have a requirement of them taking a minimum of 2 classes a year, because that's a big part of this industry. Like,
do they do that at the other salons?
No. I think
that's good.
There is
keep
some,
them sharp.
I will say that there is some suppliers that provide free education. I do have my supplier that does that as well. Redken's phenomenal for that. Alternative Beauty Supply, yes. Mm-hmm. I love them for that. But not a lot of salons will take a hit for a class that you have to pay for. And I want them to take 2 classes a year. And I understand that not people are going to say, well, I can't afford that. So my way is saying, well, I'm going to help you with it so that you can do it, because that's a big part of your job. You need to keep, I understand we have social media and YouTube and all these things where you can watch all these videos, but you also need to go hands-on. Hands-on is completely different. And I want them to
have someone physically showing you the tips and tricks and techniques.
Yeah, and I want them to keep growing. And if they grow, I grow. The more that they grow, the more that the business grows. Even me as a stylist, like being a stylist and, managing the salon is very hard. Like it's both, but I try my best to kind of, educate them as much as I can and help them and guide them to where I know that they can reach too.
So what's the feedback you've gotten from when the girls go? I'm assuming all the stylists are females. Are they females? All of them?
Yes, I actually just hired our first male.
Woo!
Yeah. Not that I was against it anyway. I actually really wanted a guy in there. I'm like, we don't have any cattiness in the salon. Everybody's extremely friendly, and I really, really like that. Yeah. But I thought it'd be nice to have a guy. And
why not?
Yeah, I was like, why not? And you know, he has wanted to come work at the salon for a long time. Like he was asking for a while. We just didn't have the space. Like we outgrew the space that we have right now. And I was like,
how many chairs are there?
So we have our makeup areas, like 3 chairs. We have stations, 4 hairstyling stations, 3 more color stations, and the spa room. So at the time we were doing some spa services. Now we're not.
Okay.
So January, February, we're doing renovations. We're going to get rid of that spa room and we're going to put in more stations. Yeah. Cause like we're finally getting to a point where like I need more stylists and we're growing, and thanks to our blow dry club, I would say the most, because I think that concept really, really, you know, had us take off a bit. And yeah, so now we're kind of reaching the second part of where I saw our 2-year plan. And hopefully when we hit 5 years, it'll be the other plan that, you know, I'm trying to strive and get to. And yeah, so far it's been amazing. Like, I can't complain about anything really.
What feedback do you get from the girls? Well, I guess this guy will be going at some point too, to these courses. Like when they come back, do you kind of not like test them, but like, oh, what did you learn? Did you learn anything interesting? Like, do you go with them? Like, how does that?
Yeah, so I actually go to classes as well. Like I need to too. I'm a stylist. So I think the first year, the classes that everybody had gone to, some of them had went individually as well. And then we also do in-salon classes as well. So sometimes I'll sit on it. Sometimes I'm just listening. I'm doing other work. And we also have our own education classes. So like me and my other stylist, Allison, we taught like a balayage class. Oh. And yeah, and all the girls kind of like, we did hands-on and theory, like, and that was great for them.
Did you do that on an actual real human head?
So we did. So what we did was we did mannequins for practice. And then day 2, we brought a model in. And we actually did like a model. I mean, anybody that... Come on, there's a lot of people out there that want a free balayage.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I was going to say, so was it free or like half price or what was the promo?
It was free for her. She loved it. And she ended up coming back later and being like, this is a big difference in price. But she got a free balayage out of it. And everybody got to kind of see. Because working on mannequins is not always the same. You know, you get to see, but you don't get the difficulty with like colored hair and all these underlying pigments and all these difficulties that come up when you're doing...
With a human head.
Yes. You know, somebody says to me like, oh, I have virgin hair. I haven't colored in 5 years. And I start lightening their hair based on what they told me. All of a sudden, the bottom is like bright red, mid's like orange, and the top is beautiful blonde. Because it's only grown out halfway. And they're like, oh, maybe it was like 2 years ago.
That's actually happened?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All the time.
Oh, my
all
God.
the time.
So
I think that's a big thing for hairstylists. Like, no, I started learning that we're going to do patch tests. So
that's smart.
Yeah. I'm like, we're going to do patch tests if we're unsure. I mean, we can visually see a little bit.
Where would you patch?
So I usually take a section out from underneath your hair here. And usually I try to take like a coarser area because the fine areas kind of, they'll lift better. So I try to take like a coarse area back here and we lighten it from root to end and we see how it lifts. And that's how we can kind of find out. We also want to do that because we want to see if their hair is going to go to what we want it to.
Right. Before you put in that time and work and then you're like, oh my God.
Yeah. And also like, because in the end of it, they're going to expect, doesn't matter if they know or not, they're going to expect the picture that they showed because everybody expects it. And the problem with that is all of a sudden now I'm like, well, listen, your hair is not lifting to what it needs to go to. So this is the first process that we have to go to. We're going to have to do another session. So to eliminate all of that, doing a patch test is the best way, or that's for a new client, I would say. Right. And, or what we do is, you know, we just do a really good consultation. Like I do like a 30-minute consultation for any of those large appointments and I get their entire history. I give them realistic goals. I'm like, this is you're the goal you want, but this is the time it's going to take for you to get there. This is the money it's going to cost you as well. Some people see a balayage and they're like, I want these highlights. You know, this is the thing I love the most. Like, I want highlights in my hair. I'm like, okay, full head of highlights, whatever. So I started asking on the phone, are they the grown out highlights? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, that's a balayage. That requires a lot of time. I need to see your hair first. And they're like, oh, can I just book the appointment? I'm like, I need to see it because it can range from like 2 hours to 9 hours. Like my biggest balayage was 9 hours.
Wow.
And I'm like, it's
one, like, so that was your whole appointment for the day.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Whole day with her. Yeah. And
please tell me she was happy with her hair though.
Oh yeah, she was happy. And she was a great client, but there's been times where I've booked a 4-hour balayage and it's turned into a 7-hour balayage. So I try my best. It still happens sometimes.
Then how do you book like your next appointment? Like, do you have to push them all or do you just block off more time?
In that time, this is why having an assistant like really pays off because she'll do her best to kind of like, I'll juggle back and forth. So I'll be like, I tell the client that I'm with, like, you know, now it's got pushed behind. So I have other clients I have to attend to. So like, I'll try to take care of them. Sometimes I'll have a good client. I'll ask them if they can come the next day, or I'll get one of the other stylists to help me out. But it doesn't happen very often because I've tried to eliminate that by doing a really good consultation. And I always give myself more time.
Good.
So even if I know I need 3.5,
bumps on the road,
I give them 4.5. And I tell them I'm basing this price on 4.5. If we do go over, you know, these are the changes that will happen. Because I just think honesty is better. And
then the surprise.
I want to know if this is going to cost me $450. I want to decide if I'm going to do it or not. Not after I've done it. Oh my God, I don't even have $450 in my bank account. Like, there's people that don't even have that, you know, and all of a sudden they're like stuck having to pay for something that they never got quoted for. Like, so everybody does consultations, quotes.
Yeah,
you know?
Consultations are very helpful. I will say, I got my prom hair done, and it wasn't even super complicated. But you still were like, I just kind of want to see what you're envisioning, and if my vision's matching yours, and like the pictures you're showing me, because 100%, like.
Yeah, miscommunication is like the number one reason why people's hair do not turn out as they want.
Yeah, the type of hair. And I remember, I think you're wearing acrylics that day. Yeah. And you're like, you were braiding. You're like, man, I'm having trouble finishing the braid. So you got your friend to come over, and then she finished. And she's like, thanks. And then you just kept going. I was like, I love the teamwork. Like, one girl's working, then the next girl is like,
I learned my lesson and never wear nails like that again. Yeah. That's why my fiance was yelling at me. He's like, stop with these long nails. I'm like, okay.
They're a little impractical. They are pretty, but they are impractical.
Yeah, they're impractical.
But yeah, consultations,
very
fully
important.
On board with that.
Very important. And then like during that time, if it's a big job, we do get people to leave a deposit too, just because like, it's easier. We've had a lot of no-shows. Like sometimes people will book a balayage and change their mind and they just don't call you. So
and then you have nothing booked for that 9 hours.
So the first like 6 months when I wasn't doing that, I was like, I very, very quickly learned that like, no, we're doing deposits, you know, or we take a credit card, or we do like.
What's a deposit?
So if it's on a balayage, it's $100 deposit. And it's refundable up until a week before. So some places don't give you refundable deposit. I do up until that point.
It seems pretty fair.
Yeah. For all of our other services, we have a 24-hour cancellation policies, which isn't bad. And you know, some things do happen. Like things come up.
Yeah. And 100%.
Like if you were to send me a message, you've never missed an appointment. You've never come in, you know, that late. If you were to say, I can't make it today, I'm not going to charge you, because I'm going to be like,
it's like, hey, I got in a car accident. Like, what do you,
okay, the first thing you want to hear is like charge you.
Right? Like, like, can you just Uber here? Because I don't have anything else to like, 100%. I feel like it does depend on the client and the client's history.
Yes.
To make that call.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's true. Yeah. Like all of those things. So we take that all into consideration. Like I kind of customize things. I mean, I try to have, I want to make it fair for everybody, but I also try to, you know, I have to work around the line sometimes, like, which is understandable. But for the most part, I think that policy makes it the easiest way. Like you learn with trial and error, and through experience, you learn what works and what doesn't work. Sometimes I've implemented rules that I thought would be a great idea, and they weren't as great as an idea. Or like my philosophy with the salon when it comes to the staff is I don't want to be on top of you. I don't want to micromanage, but I also want you guys to respect the fact that I'm not doing that. So I'm not going to tell you can't have your phone, you know, only on your break. I'm not going to say, you know, you have to be here for the whole day if you don't have a client, but I'm going to ask you to respect the fact that, you know, you're not going to take advantage of these things.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes it's made it harder for me. Sometimes it's made it easier for them or easier for me. Like
depends on the situation.
You know, and you just learn. You learn along the way. I'm still learning. You know?
Yeah. Well, we should always be learning. Yeah. Whether we're in school or not, we should always be learning. Yeah. So are you happy with the path that you're currently on with the salon? Like it's your three-year plan, 5-year plan. It's all looking like it's hitting the spots.
Yeah, it's definitely getting there. And like I definitely could not have done it without Martin. Like he was a huge push. Yeah, if he did not take that chance to do that, like I wouldn't have been here. I don't even know. Maybe I'd be working somewhere still.
Might still be bartending at that Portuguese
I don't know,
restaurant.
You know, and I definitely wanted to eventually one day, like, you know, be on my own, open my own. But I think where we're at now, like we just have a really good like relationship, and I feel like we can continue to do this for a really long time. Good.
What are some of the most difficult obstacles that you've encountered? I feel like you've already kind of talked about them, but like through your whole career like path, what's something, maybe an obstacle and some advice that you'd give to help someone steer away from it or how to make better of the situation?
I would say in hairstyling, you have to really, really love what you do. I think that some people get into it thinking it's either easy or, it's a hobby and you can get paid for it, but it's really not. So if you cannot be on the go constantly, working late hours, be hard on your body and be in a talkative environment, if you can't handle the things that come with it, the job is not going to be easy for you. Like there's days where I'm on my feet for 14 hours a day. There's days where, and that even happened before I, had the salon. And there's times where, you don't get to eat lunch for all day, or you get to eat while you're mixing color. There's times where, you're juggling, like I'm on the phone with the client and I'm trying to do this and I'm trying to do this. And, it's hard on your body. It's hard on your relationships. It's physically difficult and, it's exhausting. But if you really love what you do, like for me at the end of the day, because I enjoy what I do, none of that stuff matters. Even if I complain about it, even if I come home and I'm like, I'm so tired.
It's healthy to rant. Like,
yeah.
You're only being honest.
Yeah.
After 14 days, I feel like I can go smash some squats at the gym. Like,
yeah.
No,
definitely
probably not.
Definitely not. And there's health things that come along the way. Like it's hard. Like I have to go to physio every 2 weeks, or I have to go to acupuncture, massage every 2 weeks. Cause like I now have a bad shoulder. That's part of it. I have a bad back. That's part of it. My feet are swollen. All these other things for women's that come up. I got these spider veins in my legs now too. It's not as glamorous as it seems. You do get to have your hair done and you get to do all these things, but it is hard. So I would probably say, make sure that you're in it because you enjoy what you do and love what you do. That's probably the most important thing out of everything, because it will reflect on your work as well.
Yeah, I bet.
Like if you don't enjoy it and you're just pushing through it, your clients are going to be able to feel it and see it. And that's, that makes all the difference for them and you. You want to be happy
Their
with what
experience, yeah, 100%. Who would you say is your biggest role model through all of this?
Probably my mom. Probably, yeah. Just because like she's gone through a lot, and she's had a business, she's lost a business, she's lost her husband, she's had all of these struggles, and now has a spa for just herself, a little unit just for herself, no staff to worry about. Nobody to work for.
Is she where is she at?
She's in Port Credit too, yeah.
Oh, okay, but just not at your place.
No, she just opened up a little store for herself. Like she can't work for somebody, like she's worked for herself all these years. She can't work for anybody.
I could just see this like little pocket in Port Credit, like.
Yeah, it's like a little place for her. I mean, it's a beautiful place. It's called Natural Touch Spa, and it's perfect for her. So it's like she finally found, I think, what works for her. She doesn't have to work for anybody or run a full business with staff, but it's a place where she can come and go as she pleases. She's still young. I mean, my mom's only 52, but like she has a lot. She's been through a lot in her life. So I feel like she needs to be able to come and go as she pleases. And sometimes she wants to go at 6 a.m. and do all of her clients, because they want it. Sometimes she'll work late, but
depends. Yeah.
I think that she's gone through a lot of hardship and, obviously showed me a lot along the way, and kind of, I don't think I would probably be an entrepreneur where I'm at right now I mean, I do think it runs in my blood, but both my parents were. And I think that seeing my mom go through all of that, I think really, really guided me and
put things into perspective.
Yeah. And showed me like, you can really strive for what you want. You just have to work at it.
Yeah.
And I like what I envision is still like bigger than what I even have right now. Like I want us to have multiple locations. I want to be a franchise. I want the one in Port Credit to be the flagship store. I want to have way more staff.
I love those.
I want to build our brand. Yeah. Like, we're starting to do like capes with our logo and stuff. I want to build our brand, like coming up with the name Beauty and the Blowdryer. My fiance helped me with that a lot, and the logo I had designed and all of these things. And I just feel like where I want to take us is probably because I've seen my mom go through a lot of it, and she's definitely my biggest role model for sure.
Oh, I remember when I got my eyebrows done.
I'm gonna cry if she hears me say that. Oh my god, my Nour.
When me and my sister got our eyebrows waxed, like your mom would always be giggling because me and my sister would like be all like uncomfortable and be like, "Oh, it's like it's gonna happen now," like, because we were so young. But like it was such like a treat to get our eyebrows done, because like haircuts were like mandatory by our mom, but like eyebrows were like another playing field. So
it's like
we got to fiddle with all that stuff. I mean, now my sister knows how to thread eyebrows. So
does she?
Yeah, she learned off YouTube, and like she's good. I was like, see? You could make a killing at school. Like, why are you not charging people to do this in your freaking
It's like
room?
Free education now,
right?
Like people are doing hair at home, extensions at home, microblading at home, eyelash extensions, all these things.
Eyelash extensions are huge. Like people who do full-time eyelash extensions.
Yeah.
First of all, I don't know how you have the patience and the precision and the eye for it. Like that's a skill in itself. But like, you make some mad money if you do that
Yeah, like I even know people that work at the bank or work in financing or work in education, any different things, and now they're doing like eyelashes on the side, or some of them have stopped their careers and decided to do that now.
Yeah, just pursued it full time.
Because they're like, I can do it at home. I built my own studio and I can,
Yeah.
so like now the opportunity to do all these things in beauty industry, like, social media has made that a lot easier.
Yeah.
Sometimes it makes it hard for us because
100%.
we work hard for what we do. And there's also a lot of people out there that don't have enough education and shouldn't be doing things because then, it affects the clients. But there is a lot of room for, women that can't afford to go to college and do all these things to take these courses or just learn and make it easy for themselves and build a life for themselves.
100%. Just to touch on your dad for a second, what did he do for a living? Because you said he was entrepreneurial as well.
Yeah, my dad had car rental, so thrifty car rental.
Oh.
Yeah, thrifty. They teamed up with dollar car rental, but thrifty car rental. He had a location in Etobicoke. It's a franchise, but he had one of the locations in Etobicoke for a long time. He was actually a pharmacist originally.
He was a pharmacist?
Yeah, he was a pharmacist originally, like back home. And we came here and he was working as a pharmacist too.
Wait, when you mean back home, you mean in...
So he was working in Lebanon. My parents had me in Kuwait. So they had met there. My dad was working in the Middle East, basically. Essentially, he was working in the Middle East as a pharmacist. And when he came here, he was as well. And then he kind of got into car rental.
Okay.
And he was doing that pretty much right up until the time where he passed. But yeah, I would always, he was there day and night whenever he was working. My, both my parents were, my mom didn't work at the time. So like she slowly started being like, well, I want a job and I want to work for myself. I don't want to help you run your business. And I want to, I want to do these things. The kids aren't young anymore. I don't have to stay at home or babysit. She was working babysitting. Like that's what she was doing when we were growing up. She didn't really work. So she finally started deciding like this is what she wanted to do. And my dad, had his business too. And both of them were entrepreneurs, and seeing both of them do that kind of made me want to. And I also think that I'm the kind of person that works better for myself or with somebody, but not necessarily for somebody.
Yeah. Under your own pressure.
Yeah.
For sure. What was I going to ask? Oh, yeah. How would you define success? And would you consider yourself successful with where you're at right now?
I would probably define success as definitely part of that is back to it, doing what you love. I think like being successful doesn't just mean making money, doesn't just mean, kind of like where other people think that you should be. I think that being successful is a mixture of the goals that you set for yourself in your life and reaching them, being proud of where you are, definitely, and, reaching your goals financially too. I think it's a mixture of all of it. And although I think that I've reached a certain part where I am proud of myself, and I do think that, at times I'm definitely like, okay, I feel like I've reached where I want to, but I still feel like in order to be fully successful where I want to be, I need more time to get there, where I can fully say like, okay, now I'm like really, really, really happy where I'm at 100% and I've reached that. And I know I'll always keep striving for more, but, I think that in the journey that I've had in my life and, the obstacles that we've had, I think that I've come a long way from them and, being successful in that point. But I definitely think there's a lot more room for me to grow still.
Awesome. But you do consider yourself successful?
Yes, I do. Okay. Yes, I do consider myself successful. Yes. Yes, I do.
Okay, so just some like lighthearted, fun questions then. So what do you do? Probably you don't have a ton of time because you're so busy at the salon, but you're engaged now.
Yes.
So what are you? I was gonna say what are your hobbies? But I feel like you're just like planning your wedding. Like,
I haven't even started planning the wedding.
No?
I literally have not even, I don't even know where I want to get married. I haven't even, every girl knows that, and I haven't even started.
But you don't want to like get married is another year or two anyway?
Yeah, we're going to wait. We're going to wait about a year and a half. We're going to probably do June. We're thinking around this time, June 2021. I just need time. Like, I don't have a lot of time on my hands regularly. So like, I need enough time to plan it, to do what I want to do. This is a really busy time of year for us. So
I bet.
I didn't want to like take on a burden of like trying to do too many things at once. I wanted to, worry about Christmas time for the salon. I already have to buy a new car. I need to do these things, you know? So I was like, I need to focus one thing at a time. So
yeah, not take on too many.
Yeah. So we pushed it kind of to the new year to kind of start planning everything. We have, you know, when we want to do it in mind, but we haven't really gotten to that point. And, you know, it's kind of all happened really fast. Like, so, I mean, we got engaged in July and it just kind of flew by since then. Really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are your hobbies you do in your spare time? Like, do you go to the movies with your fiance? Do you?
So spare time that I have usually,
you just go home and go to sleep.
usually it's him begging me like, let's do something, and I'm like, I'm tired. So most of the time I'm tired.
What does he do again?
He's a technical writer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like I forget how if your schedules align or not really.
No, we work opposite. Like he works 7 to 3:30 every day, and I work like either 9 to 8, 9 to 6.
Yeah.
You know, so our hours are usually I come home and he's like about to go to bed. Now we have like one early day together that we made it, and we have Sundays together. So usually pretty much definitely TV. That's probably our biggest thing because when I come home I can do that. But I've played softball my whole life since I was a kid, so I still do that. We just started up playing volleyball actually on Mondays too, which I haven't had a lot of time to do, and I had to apologize to the team. I've been to like 2 games. Yeah, I really,
but you're
really
trying. Like you
I'm
are
trying.
really trying
it's
to
just, there's always something that happens on a Monday. Like it's either an event, the networking event I have to go to, or I have a lot of work to catch up on, or I finally have to, you know, catch up on our house stuff. We bought a house and we just closed it in September, and I'm like trying to kind of juggle that and, you know, getting engaged and then the salon. Like, it's
do you have everything set in your house now, or like?
Yeah, now we're situated.
Okay.
We still have to buy like, you know, a few things to get more comfortable, but we're unpacked for the most part. I think there's like 2 boxes of my clothes that I have nowhere to put. Because I need like a whole room for myself, and like I don't have it, and it's making me angry.
You're like, oh, this is not enough closet space.
No.
Like, how am I gonna make do?
Yeah, like you know what? I'm glad we got a new build, and I'm glad we got it when we did. But I need a bedroom just for my stuff, and we don't have it. It's like his office / guest room / his dresser / I take up half his closet, so there's like really no room.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just there's a lot of stuff I guess going on along the way, but yeah, I would say probably for the most part definitely sports. I definitely love going to the movies. That's probably one of my favorite things. Dinners with my friends. We like to host a lot, so we do that
that's
a
always
lot
fun.
Too. Yeah,
when you have your own place, it's so much different than when you're in your parents' house.
And family's like a big part for both of us, I would say too. So if we're not seeing his family, we're seeing my family, my nephew, because I have a nephew now finally too. So I try to surround myself around that.
Which brother?
My eldest brother. So my nephew just turned 1 in October.
Oh,
He's adorable. And my other brother and my sister-in-law are pregnant. They're expecting in March too. And they're both boys, so that's going to be exciting.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's really exciting.
Yeah,
well,
my mom was really
congratulations on that. That seems
Thank you.
really exciting.
Yeah.
You definitely want to, make some time for the fam to go see the little ones.
Yeah, and we don't all live close to each other either, so like it takes up a lot of time sometimes.
Where's the farthest? Who lives farthest?
Georgetown. So I'm in Waterdown, Burlington. My brother's in Georgetown. My other brother's in Brampton. My mom's in Etobicoke.
Okay.
And my fiance's parents are in Hamilton.
Okay.
Which they're the closest to us.
Yes.
But
yes.
You know, my family's all spread apart. All his
Christmas
family's
should
in one
be
place.
fun. Who does what where?
Oh, we're hosting this year.
Everyone?
Everybody.
So his family and your son?
Yes. And it's on I work Christmas Eve, so like I mean, luckily it's Christmas Day, but still, like I'm working Christmas Eve, so I don't have a lot of time
to prep
and do things.
Well, fiance will help.
Yeah, I'm really lucky. I'm honestly blessed when it comes to this because he cooks at least like 3 days a week for like. I'm really lucky. Like
good.
Like even today he'll be cooking and I'll be home late and he'll be like, dinner's ready.
That's so nice. That's a really nice feeling to walk into after a long day.
I'm lucky.
Totally
his mom raised him well for sure.
Well, is there anything else you want to add to the podcast? Any advice you want to give or social media you want to plug?
Definitely. You can follow us at Beauty and the Blowdryer. For our Instagram, Facebook, all of those things. We offer a blow dry club too, which is very popular now. It's a $99 package and you can treat yourself for a 30-day membership and get 6 blow dries, 8 blow dries, whatever you want, which I feel like every woman needs.
Wow.
And it's affordable, you know, like that's probably the
Guys,
hardest
get
point,
on
right?
that.
Yeah, everybody
Get on
loves
that.
it. I did it as like a promo in the beginning and it just took off and I was like, I need to keep it. Everybody loves it.
Staying.
It's staying like permanently. So definitely that. And I would just say probably definitely do what you love. Always keep striving for more, set goals for yourself, and definitely try to achieve everything that you want in life.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being on today. It
Thank you
means
for
the
having
world
me.
that you'd come on and talk about your career path with everyone and the struggles that you've had to go through to get to the amazing place you are now. Don't forget to hit subscribe to the podcast and give this specific episode 5 stars, preferably, to let us know how we're doing, and drop a comment. And then all her socials and my socials will be listed in the show notes of the episode. This is a really great episode. I'm really glad you came on.
Yeah, me too. I'm glad.
All right.
First time, but it turned out amazing, I think.